very, very warm welcome to you all to this year's FNB Franchise Leadership Summit.
The First National Bank is very proud to be associated with this event. The idea behind this summit is to further stimulate the discussion around franchising and highlight the importance of its contribution to our country and to our continent. So we really want to create an environment where best practices are shared, where new opportunities are shared and new ideas around franchising in South Africa and Africa are fostered, and we as a bank can take advantage of those opportunities and grow on the back of them.
Growth in South Africa is weak, right? So if you take the average growth rate of the South African economy since 1945, post-Second World War, it's about 3.5%. It's not a train smash. The economy is still growing, but the growth is exceptionally weak. I think the one positive is that we are starting to find nascent evidence of the weak rand doing what it's supposed to be doing in terms of boosting the export side of the economy.
If you are starting a business, you need to understand why you're actually doing it. So when I started Tasha's in Athol, why? Why did I want to open? Obviously because of money. Of course you want to make money. But when you start unpacking it, at the heart of it, it was to make people happy. And how was I going to do that? I was going to build a beautiful space, serve great food, make sure the staff were driven, make sure the managers were on the floor, driving the staff. And at the essence of it is, I'm a people pleaser. And that's what it was about. I'm going to open this restaurant and I'm going to make sure that everyone in my environment that I can control is going to have the best possible experience.
How do you anticipate disruption? So the biggest lesson really is that it's no longer about a big company versus a small company. It's about fast versus slow. How fast can you see and spot a trend, and how fast can you implement it as well? And remember that it really does come in waves. And this is the one that people don't want to hear, is that you have to budget for failure. In a digital era, nobody wants to hear about failure. The point is you have to keep testing things. There's so many new options around, but the downside is if you don't try something, you're going to be left completely behind.
I think there's a strong future for franchising in South Africa, and what a lot of people don't realize is the dynamic between those that can create opportunities that are sustainable in an economy and those that can keep the machines running. And I think what's unique about a franchising concept is exactly that. We need people to go out there, look at the trends with an optimistic mindset and start building those concepts that the rest of our economy can buy into to help create something sustainable for South Africa.
So I think that the important bit in business is it's a matter of matching risk and reward. And so when we get a tenant coming into a shopping center, there's a partnership that develops there between the landlord and the tenant. But on the tenant side as well, they need to have relationships and partnerships with those who are supporting them. And in a franchise model, the franchisee is bringing something to the table that they have a belief in that will be successful, and it will help them to grow and meet their aspirations.
Now, I think some of the main points is we are going into a few hard times coming forward. And if you don't prepare for it, then you may fall off and struggle a little bit. But if you prepare for it, if you continue to reinvent your brand, keep bringing in innovation, then the South African market will grow.
If you're not evolving and you're not innovating, you don't have a sustainable business model. When your input costs are increasing at 7 or 8%, GDP is only growing at 1 or 2%, and your top line revenue is growing at GDP, you have an unsustainable business model. So you need evolution and you need innovation.
Black and white get on extremely well in the workplace, in the suburbs, in the sport field. So suddenly we have so much more going for us. If only we realize we have to redesign this model. The new South Africa Model 1, the wheels came off. We can't put the wheels back on. We have to design new South Africa, democratic South Africa, Model 2. Essentially, South Africa has become one of the most open societies in the world, and nobody is going to close that society down, rob us of our freedoms again.
You know, I think the greatest danger for us as South Africans is not activism. I think it's inactivism. I think the fact that we all just sit back and expect it all to be fine, and when it's not, we point fingers. Not cool, man. You can't have a cappuccino while there's a revolution going on. It doesn't work like that.
Franchising is certainly growing. What we're finding on the continent, and obviously that's where my sort of scope of influence lies, is looking after the African subsidiaries in India from a business banking point of view. We're finding that franchising is becoming more and more important and prevalent. Not only is it a means of creating employment, but it's a means of entrepreneurs expressing themselves. We find a lot of good value that comes from understanding these markets and allowing or facilitating the transfer of good franchise concepts into our presence countries where we are. And also a lot of homegrown businesses that are growing up and are able to get insight into what is a franchise, how do we franchise ourselves. And I think the audience has definitely had a good insight into how we can assist them do that.
When Franchising Plus started planning the program for this 4th Franchise Summit, we took the decision with FNB to be forward-thinking and not to dwell on negatives. And that is how this whole theme of planning for the future emerged. And I do think that we managed today to inspire you with fantastic franchise brands that are succeeding beyond all thought and hope, and also with thought leaders that are challenging us to think differently.
You know, not a lot of people can go out and say, you know, chat to Natasha from Tasha's or chat to the MD of McDonald's to get some insight, or let's get an absolute futurist trendsetter in to talk about where the economy is going and what's happening in industries across the world. So I think we're absolutely lucky. We had a great turnout, great speakers, but more importantly were the topics that were covered. And I think they were so relevant to what's going on, not only in South Africa, but in the world economy today.
We really want to thank FNB for their continued support of this event, for the hard work done by the marketing division and the franchise division, and for all your commitment to this and in bringing this event to the industry. It's sorely needed, and we hope that we can continue and see you here next year.